The Philadelphia Eagles are living a season marked by highs and lows, by big wins, by a dominant defense, and by a series of events that seem to test, week after week, the emotional endurance of their fanbase. And just when it looked like the team was beginning to find stability, when the last 4 straight wins gave the feeling that everything was finally aligning, the news no one in Philadelphia wanted to hear arrived. A heavy piece of news. News that changes plans. News that hits directly at the backbone of the offense. And when it came out, it spread instant silence through the locker room, through the fan base, through analysts. Because this time, we are not talking about just any player, not about a secondary piece, not about a rotational guy. We are talking about one of the greatest players in franchise history, one of the greatest players in the history of his position, a future Hall of Famer. And now, for the first time this season, he is out of action. The revelation dropped like a bomb at the start of the week. Multiple reporters confirmed that the Philadelphia Eagles received devastating news that one of their stars suffered a serious foot injury, a Lisfranc sprain, and could miss between 4 and 6 weeks. And this is where the story becomes truly concerning. The impact isn't just technical, it isn't just strategic, it isn't just physical, it is emotional. Because the name at the center of this crisis is simply one of this team's leaders, a man who helped shape the entire offensive identity of the Eagles in recent years, a player with $163 million in career earnings, a 5-time All-Pro, and a 2-time Super Bowl champion. Yes, Lane Johnson, a giant, a pillar, a living legend. And now, for the first time on this journey toward another title, Philadelphia may have to survive without him. It was during the 16-9 win over the Detroit Lions that everything happened. Lane Johnson left the field, did not return, and the entire fan base held its breath because when Lane leaves, it's never a good sign. And this time, the worst-case scenario basically came true. Adam Schefter was the first to break the news. Lisfranc sprain. It's not a simple injury. It's not a common injury for elite offensive linemen. And although it does not end his season, it places a massive question mark over the Eagles' offense at the most sensitive moment of the year. Ian Rappaport confirmed it. The expectation is 4 to 6 weeks out. Johnson is expected to seek a second opinion, but everything indicates he will land on injured reserve. And here comes the part that truly worries everyone. The Eagles' offense, already inconsistent, already up and down, already under pressure from criticism and internal stress, now loses its most reliable player on the offensive line. And that reveals a bigger problem that very few had noticed. The Eagles' offensive line, so often praised, so often dominant, so often considered one of the best in the NFL, simply has not been able to stay healthy this season. Only once, according to journalist Anthony DeBona, have all 5 starters played every offensive snap together in 2025, just one single time. And now, without Lane Johnson, the situation becomes even more complicated. Fred Johnson stepped in well. True, he is solid, reliable, experienced. But losing Lane Johnson is not just a technical swap. It is losing your anchor. It is losing your leader. It is losing the guy who, for nearly a decade and a half, turned the right side of the offensive line into forbidden territory for any pass rusher. Tim Kelly from Bleacher Report summed it up with surgical precision. Lane Johnson is reaching the stage of his career that Jason Peters was at the end. He's still dominant when he's on the field, but he's starting to leave the field more frequently. It's harsh, but it's true. Time arrives for everyone, for legends, for heroes, for the untouchables. And maybe it's starting to knock at Lane Johnson's door. And this becomes even more sensitive given the Eagles' current reality. Why? Because this offense, even with all its talent, is far from ideal. There is public tension among receivers. There is frustration with Jalen Hurts' style. There is external pressure. There are internal doubts. And now, there is a gigantic absence in quarterback protection. The Eagles need Lane Johnson not only for his talent, but for his stability. And losing that stability exactly during the decisive stretch of the seasons, yes, devastate. The fans know it. The analysts know it. The team itself knows it. And despite all the chaos, there is one positive point. This is not a season-ending injury. Lane Johnson should return before the playoff. He will have time to recover, strengthen the foot, and prepare physically and emotionally for the games that actually matter. But until then, the question is simple and direct. Can the Eagles' defense survive without him? Will the protection hold up? Will Hurts adjust under extra pressure? Will the running game continue producing? Will the short yardage execution still work? And most important, will the offensive line's chemistry, which was already fragile, remain minimally stable? No one knows that answer. We only know one thing. The challenge begins now, and Philadelphia will once again have to prove that they can win, even when everything seems ready to collapse around them.